All right, folks, welcome to another episode of BBCG and Friends. I'm thrilled to have Blind Mike's fan club with me today, otherwise known as Sean. Sean, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, sir.
Thank you for doing this. Um, it's been obviously a rough week. We're recording this on Friday, May 2nd. I know the cinema's funeral was today. And I think the Miniverse kind of stopped last weekend, and everybody seems to be been impacted by cinema. I can't claim that I knew him very well at all. I introduced myself to him and his girlfriend in Laconia, um, but he was genuine there, and we've had a couple of DM exchanges. In fact, I went and looked at the last one um, that him and I went back and forth a little bit on, and it was actually the day that it was announced that he became Minifan of the Year. And I just wrote a quick congratulations, and he said, "Thank you, sir. Hope you have a great holiday." And I just wrote, "You too. May your reign be a prosperous one." And this, I'm looking at the date of this, and December 23rd, and then literally like 4 short months later, give or take a few days. We lost a truly decent guy and an important person in the Miniverse. So I just wanted to acknowledge his loss. I know Kirk and I know Menners did a nice job this week, and I know others have paid tribute to Nick much better than I could ever do. I did just want to remind everyone that the family requested that in lieu of flowers, donations can be made in his name at activeminds.org. And I think that would be a great way to honor cinema. So, Sean, tough way to start the show. We're usually this much lighter on this, but I just felt like I had to say something. So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Any
Uh,
thoughts on your side?
I mean, it just makes me really my admiration and appreciation for everyone in the Miniverse that's willing to put themselves out there and create content for us all to enjoy. It's just multiplied through this event, and I'm just really happy to know all these people in a sense,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. You're spot on there. It seemed like we knew him, and and like a lot of the folks who are on KMS and in the networks, as a group, it's a good group of people and very dedicated to the show and whatnot, and always always fun to interact, and cinema will be missed for sure. So let's jump in. I know you've been watching the show, listening to the show, and I really appreciate it. Just quickly, where did you grow up, Sean?
Foxborough, Mass.
Ah, okay. So we already have a problem since I'm a lifelong New York Jets fan,
Well,
and
that's not a problem for me.
I was 3 years old the last time the Jets won a Super Bowl. So um, that's how long ago it's been. Um, when in growing up in Foxborough, where did you get some of your early musical influence from? Was it from your parents? Was it from the siblings? Tell us your story.
Earliest on, it's just from, being in the car for, family trips or whatever, just kind of car rides with my father, classic rock, yacht rock type of stuff, adult contemporary.
Right.
Like, one thing I wanted to mention is just how, like, some songs can almost like transport you back to parts of your life. Like, when I hear The Joker from Steve Miller Band, it puts me, if I'm in a certain frame of mind, it'll put me right in my back seat and I'm listening to my dad sing it.
That's great. Yeah, that's a great tune. Also,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, um, yeah. It's funny how you kind of the first thing is you're kind of hooked into what your parents listen to, and I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but my parents were huge Frank Sinatra fans. So,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I have all of that memorized, and so much of it is really cool stuff. Um, did you have siblings, Sean?
Yes, three brothers and a sister. And yeah, my brother, I know it's been mentioned before that Columbia House CD deal back in the day.
Yeah, it's a great
I s-
deal. Yeah, it was a
my
great
brother I think it was like 10 CDs for a penny, and then they got real price. So my brother signed me up, my younger brother, my younger sister. He did the limit for a penny and just kept making up new accounts. So he loaded up on like every greatest hits of classic rock, Kenny Rogers. So I'd go in there when he wasn't there and kind of go through them all, and that was the next level of my musical education.
Yeah, and it's funny about that Columbia House. I mean, it was such a scam, and but you could pretty easily get out of that commitment. So it was crazy. I mean, I did it a couple of times where I loaded up on that stuff.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I was a little too
same
young for
story.
it, but I don't understand how they even made it work for me. They must have trapped somebody at some point.
Yeah, they must have. It must have. How old are you?
43.
43. Okay. Yeah, that definitely would have been because I was like 20 at the height of that. So
Uh-huh.
and I'm 60. So yeah, you definitely missed it. Um when you so you start out classic rock like a lot of folks we've been talking to have, where did you kind of veer off the classic rock road, and what artist or artists led you down a different road, so to speak?
Well, once I started, getting a group of friends that we all kind of would get a CD and we'd all get in the car and listen to it start to finish. It
Mhm.
was kind of like maybe alternative rock, like a late 90s type of stuff. And I know Bill was kind of the same era, and it reminded me of a theory I had of all these rock bands from late 90s, early 2000s, just S bands. Wicked random fact here. I wrote them all down. Saliva, Shinedown, System of a Down, Stained, Static X, Slipknot, Stone Sour, Seven Dust, Seether, Simple Plan, Sum 41. And it just blew my mind that all these bands that are playing on, at the time it was the rock station around here was WAAF, and it's like, oh, another S band, another S band. But it was a fun wave for sure.
Do you remember driving around with your buddies and like kind of a wow moment with one of those CDs?
I wasn't prepared for this, but as soon as you said it, a song came in my mind, and it's kind of silly now, but my buddy, and sometimes it's just the moment it hits you and the volume it comes at you at. But all right, here we go. Limp Bizkit
Okay.
covered George Michael's Faith, and I was just blown away that the screaming, rapping guy Fred Durst is doing a George Michael's cover, and it was actually sounded good. Yeah, I was caught up in the moment when I heard that.
So I know that cover for sure, and I had a similar moment when I heard Faith No More cover "Easy" by the Commodores. I don't know if you know that song.
Easy like Sunday morning.
"Easy Like Sunday Morning." Yeah,
Faith No
yeah.
More. So it's like is that like a punk band, Faith No More?
Faith No More, um, punk leaning, heavy metal. They were around in the early '90s, and
Okay.
they had that song. Can't, it was a big. They had a big hit, and I'm
Yeah.
drawing a blank
Yeah, the
on the
name's familiar to
title.
me. I just
Uh,
wrote that
but
down. I'll definitely be checking that out.
yeah, but they did a cover of "Easy Like Sunday Morning," and that blew me away. So it's kind of, Faith, Sunday, "Easy Like Sunday Morning" is very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But check out Faith No More, especially their first record. Um, all right, so Limp Bizkit. So then, as I talked with Bill last week, you must have been, very excited when Woodstock '99 came around and all those bands were there, and you were watching on TV. I'm assuming. I'm assuming you didn't go.
Yeah. And did you ever see the documentary about that?
Yeah, it came out like a year ago or a year and a half ago. Yeah.
It really just exemplified how crazy the 90s were. Like, looking back at it, it was all normal in the moment, but now looking back, you're like, there's all types of sexual abuse being totally
Mm.
acceptable on TV screens. I'm like, what is going on? And
Oh
then
no.
the best though was when they were trying to get Red Hot Chili Peppers to quiet the crowd down, and instead Red Hot Chili Peppers went out and did Hendrix's "Light My Fire" as their light
Yeah.
fires and trash cans and stuff.
Yeah, let me stand next to your fire. Yeah,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
right. It was
absolutely. Um, yeah, that whole, and I think there's actually been two documentaries about Woodstock '99.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and I think one on Netflix and maybe one on HBO or Max or whatever it's called. Yeah, those were wild days, and if you think about like the '90s as a whole, And again, if you kind of chart it at Nevermind, right, when Nirvana kind of broke, and then
Yep.
Pearl Jam and those guys, that was an absolutely change compared to what had been going on the previous 4 or 5 years, which was kind of driven by hair metal bands. And then
Right.
you fast forward 5 or 6 or 7 years to like 97, 98, and all of the, whether it's the Limp Bizkits or the Corn or Rage, it just like 180 degrees and went the other way. It just completely different. It was a
Right.
crazy decade for sure. Plus then you had all the pop, whether it was Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera or the boy bands. There was a lot going on, and hip hop kind of becoming more mainstream on the charts as well. It was a crazy decade for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so speaking of hip hop, were you a hip hop fan back then? Now?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I listened to pretty much everything.
Mhm.
Like when I was, I was still pretty young, but that whole like West Coast, East Coast thing, I can remember as a white suburban boy somehow getting myself aligned in there.
So were you
Uh,
West Coast or East Coast?
well, I thought the West Coast had the better rappers, but I wanted to be loyal to my side of the country, so I stuck with Biggie. But I mean, you couldn't deny Tupac and Death Row Records and all the
Oh,
talent they had over there. But then we
oh,
always had, everybody thought it was just Biggie, but we had Jay-Z. I believe Nas was New York. Wu-Tang Clan, for the most part, was New York, if not all.
yep, yeah,
So there was a pretty good team on this side as well.
yeah, and also on West Coast was Coolio, who I loved.
Yeah, yeah.
That was fun, and Dre, of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Um, so you're driving around in your car, listening to music. What was the first CD that you bought, Sean? That you kind of said you were full attention, going to the mall and said, "I need to have this album or CD."
You know, I remember the first one I put in and it was mine. I don't remember if I necessarily bought it, but James Taylor, Carolina in My Mind. So like
Wow.
this is before I was hanging out, doing music with my friends. But
Yeah,
as
yeah.
far as like with my friends, I remember a kid I wasn't really friends with, like pulling me aside in class and being like, "Have you heard this 16 Stone album by Bush? It's incredible. Every song's so good." So I remember
Mhm.
going out and like making it a point, like, "Oh, I gotta get this album and I'm gonna listen to it, and then I'm gonna be friends with this kid."
Right.
And it was a great
Um,
album. Bush had a great little, very short run.
he did. What was that? Oh
Gavin
God.
Rosdale,
No, I know that. I'm trying to the slow uh
Glycerine.
ballady glycerine.
Yeah, yeah.
I was saying I had in my head Vaseline, but I know that's the Stone Temple Pilot.
Oh
So
yeah,
glycerine. Yeah, yeah. I love the Stone Temple Pilots also.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah, I saw that
yeah.
once at Gillette actually.
Oh wow, who were they there with?
I don't remember. I just remember when STP was there, that's when everybody stormed the field and like broke over some fence. But it was a group of bands, but that's the only part I remember because it was like complete mayhem at that point.
No, I got to see them in Long Island at Jones Beach. It's like an amphitheater out on Long Island. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I saw the Stone Temple Pilots open up for the Chili Peppers in like
Ooh, nice combo.
'99. Yeah, yeah, that was a fun show. And poor Scott Weiland went down a
Yeah.
dark road for sure. Um, Interesting about James. How old were you when you had that? You got that James Taylor album?
I would guess probably like a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah,
But oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
God, that song in particular, I must have had on repeat, just playing over and over. And I just love James Taylor. I'll still listen to him, when if I'm in a bad mood, I put on James Taylor. You can't stay mad listening to James Taylor. It's impossible.
Yeah, he's so many songs. He's a very underrated guitar player also. He's very I love his style on the acoustic guitar. And he has so many great songs. So many great songs. I mentioned my wife loves him, so I've seen him probably 5 or 6 times over the years. So he's terrific as well. Um
Yeah, sadly, I've
did
only
you
seen his brother Livingston. He does like I think it was a New Year's concert at Great Woods way back in the day, and my neighbor's family went, and I got to go with them. So I saw Livingston Taylor. I've never seen James Taylor live.
Yeah. Well, you got to step it up. You got to step it up
When
before.
him and Jackson Brown were touring, and then COVID hit, I was dying to go to that, and then it got canceled because of COVID, and then I kind of lost track of it. I think they ended up finishing that tour. Unfortunately, I missed it.
Yeah, and I know JT is out this summer. I don't know what if Jackson Brown is, but James Taylor's definitely. I think he is. He might. He's been playing Fenway the last few summers, hasn't he? I think.
Oh, see, yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. Um. All right. So Carolina on my mind. Great. Um. What was your first concert?
I believe it was Steve Miller Band again at Great Woods in Mansfield, Mass.
Okay. And do you know what year that could have been?
I would say that was 96, 97. I think I was a sophomore in high school.
Okay. And did you go with your folks?
I went with my neighbor, and then when it was just me and him, his older sister and their friends were there, but we were kind of on our own. And I just ran into a bunch of friends from high school. They were out in the lawn seats, and we ended up hanging out with them the whole show. And that's a great band. I'll still put them on and just mellow out for a while too. They're great.
Yeah, they have one of those catalogs like when you put on their greatest hits, it's just like, it's there's no nothing that gets skipped, right?
Right,
It's
right.
top to bottom for sure. Um all right, so Steve Millett, you took the money and run. You took money and ran, so to speak. What about your last concert? What's your most recent concert, Sean?
Rick Wakeman, I got to see
Oh,
in I
okay.
think it's Fall River. It's a little spot called the Narrow Center for the Arts. They don't necessarily have that many big names there, so when I saw him, I jumped on it. But just a great little venue. Maybe I think at most you fit 100 people in there. I brought in a cooler with food, sandwiches, and a couple beers. They don't even open it and look at it. I'm like, this place is crazy. But yeah, to see that guy up close, going back and forth from piano to keyboard and just doing all his song, like I didn't know he did Life on Mars. He wrote that for Bowie and like all these other things he's touched upon in his career. He's
Oh
incredible.
wow. I didn't know that either. I know him primarily from Yes, right? Being in
Hmm.
old Yes. Um and but that's interesting. So did he have a band with him or was it just him?
Just him storytelling in between songs and going back and forth, piano, keyboard.
Oh, I bet that would be very cool.
I was hoping that this last one was like his last solo tour, and I was really hoping John Anderson would pop out at the end for one song or something, but we weren't that lucky.
Yeah. I got to see Yes two times in the 80s. I saw them at SPAC up in Saratoga, New York. Um, right around when Owner of a Lonely Heart, that was a big hit.
Hmm.
Nine I always want to say 90210, the tip of the cap to Kirk, but it's the album was 90125. And there was a couple of songs that were on the charts. And then um I think later that year or early the following year, so it's probably 83, 84. I saw them at Madison Square Garden again with another group of friends. Um, I can take Yes to a certain point. There's a lot, yeah. And I don't mean to downgrade anybody, but the prog rock, it's a handful.
Yeah.
Whether
Oh
you're
yeah.
talking
There's a
about
lot going
Yes,
on.
there's a lot going on. ELP, or
Yep.
Yes. So in small doses, like Roundabout is
Do you put Rush in there as well?
I would put them in that category. I
Hmm.
have friends who think Rush is, gods,
Yep.
and I get it, but for me, it never clicked in. Um, I guess I would put them a little above those other bands for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I would consider them prog rock, and early Genesis is prog rock, and that's and I don't know how much you've listened to Genesis, probably not a lot considering your age, but the early Genesis is it's like plotting and there's a lot, like you said, a lot going on. But then
Yeah.
as they moved into the 80s, they got tighter. Peter Gabriel left, Phil Collins became the lead singer. And then all of a sudden, they were pounding out the hits, and it was
Yeah.
it was almost like it was a completely different band for sure. Um, Yeah. So, but going back to Yes for a second, that roundabout, that song kicks ass.
Oh my
I
God.
love.
Yeah, you don't gotta sell me on Yes. They're right up there in my top five for sure. I
Oh
love pop
wow.
rock, so
Okay. All right.
that's like bucket list. If I could go like alive or dead, if I could see Yes in their prime, like all of them together, oh, I would. That's one of the top picks for me.
When would their prime be? Was it the early '70s or the mid '70s?
Um, I'd have to go back and look, but really for me, I just need Wakeman, Anderson, Howe, and I'll take. I think it's Bruford or Buford on drums.
Yeah.
But
Bill Bruford. Yeah.
Bruford, okay, yeah. So I mean, those four are my main guys, but I'd settle for just the big three there with Anderson, Wakeman, and Howe.
Well, uh, Chris Squire is the bassist, was the bassist, and he was such an original, unique bassist as well. And that comes across in Roundabout too. Um, I actually like him quite a bit. I liked him quite a bit, Chris Squire. Um, but that so they're in your top five. So give me your top five. Ooh,
Oh, wow. Billboard charts guy. What a question.
come on, well, you brought it up.
Well, Jackson Brown is lyrically my favorite. Like I will sing along. I put on his greatest hits so many times that when I hear one of the radio songs end, I'm singing the next song in that greatest hits album as that one's ending on the radio or whatever, you know. So
Hmm.
Jackson Brown's number one, probably Yes number two. I love Tool. I think Tool is such a unique band, and you know, it's such a rare thing. They put out an album like once every couple decades or whatever it is. Um, and then after that, I don't know. It's a big heat for me. I mean, I growing up, I was huge into Pearl Jam. I loved Pearl Jam, as
Yeah,
corny as that might sound.
no, it's not corny at all. You should talk to Pat from Amesbury. He's the hugest Pearl Jam fan I believe in our community.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's a big PJ fan.
And then you know what, Queen for sure, because Queen's like another one you could put on the evolution of my understanding of Queen. You know, first it was Wayne's World and just the couple of songs they had. Then
Yeah.
there was the movie Observe and Report that had some deep cuts, and I'm like, oh wow, Queen's got more than just the greatest hits. And then it's like every time I hear Queen, I'm like, I'll just put on Queen, shuffle, go, and I have no problems with it. I'm in love with my car. Let's ride it out, baby, because the next one's
Uh,
gonna be a banger too. You know, like
that's that's another band for me that I get it, I understand it, but there's only a handful of songs that I really enjoy. A lot of it's over the top for me, and
oh really?
yeah, but Killer Queen is one of my favorite songs. I love
Oh
Killer
yeah.
Queen. Yeah. Um, wow, interesting. That's a unique top five. And by the way, on Jackson Brown, Running on Empty is one of my favorite albums.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I do Amazon on the weekend, so I'm in a van for 8 hours. On a Sunday, I'll just start at, I believe his first album was self-titled, or maybe it was Doctor My Eyes, I forget. But I'll just go from the beginning and just go through his albums and just jam out to him all day long.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, he was a great songwriter. He is a great songwriter, and but that Running on Empty record came out probably when I was about 12 or 13, and it kind of just hit me, all those songs on there. You hear the thunder and Running on
Hmm.
Empty and Rosie and that
Oh
version of
yeah, great.
Stay, the load out into Stay. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So I asked your first concert. I asked your last concert. What's your all-time favorite concert?
I had a couple options for this one, and I think in messages I was saying Roger Waters, and he's right up there. But you know what? I only had one experience with Grateful Dead, and my buddy finally talked me into going. I was like, "Oh, what are you talking about? They got that kid. You know, your body's a wonderland. I
Right,
can't
right.
respect them anymore." But he got me
Mm.
to go, and like the music's great. I forget that kid's name, but
John Mayer.
John Mayer, thank you. He didn't
Yeah.
take over. You know, you didn't even know he was up there. He fit in perfectly with the band. And just like I caught myself more staring at the crowd and just the scene around the band. It was like something I've never seen before at a concert. Like there was this whole group of people, kind of scrubby looking, dancing. It looked like they were dancing in unison. It was like Charles Manson's whole like horde of I forget what he called his people, but yeah, it was a wild scene. I really was happy my friend talked me into going to that, and I got to see that firsthand.
Where did you see that, at Foxborough?
Fenway was that one,
Oh,
just a
at
couple of
Fenway.
summers ago.
Yeah. So I've seen that version of the Dead. It's called Dead and Company. I saw
Right.
them once at City Field, probably about 6 or 7 years ago, and um, the people watching. I mean, the songs are great. Some of the jams go on a little bit too long, and
I had a
when
feeling
they
you were going to say
and
that.
yeah, and they do, in the second set they do this whole drums and space thing, which it's time for me to go get a beer or get a hot book, something. And I've been that way since I've listened to the Dead. But the people watching isn't amazing. But the going seeing Jerry Garcia and the original guys, like in the late '80s, like I did.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah, those shows were, and like Ned Snark, probably the biggest Deadhead in our group. Will go back even further. And he'll tell you got to listen to the show from '77 and da, 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 and but seeing Jerry live was amazing. And yeah, but you're absolutely right. The people watching and just kind of the scene is
Oh yeah.
is
I mean, outside of
unbelievable.
Fenway, I saw a group of like 70 somethings, and I don't know what they were on, but they were messed up, and like they were all trying to like carry one woman there, and I'm like, they looked like they were like, college kids at a baseball or a Red Sox game, but like they're in their 70s, they're for the Dead, but they were having the time of their lives, so more
Oh my
power to
God,
them.
that's great. Well, listen, this has been fun. Thank you for doing this. I
Thank you so
really
much.
appreciate, you the feedback you've given me has been is great as well, and I truly appreciate it, as I do with all the other Minifans who have reached out. I love doing this. Gonna try to keep this going as long as I can. So on I want to thank Kirk. I want to thank the Minifan Network, Mentors, for allowing me the opportunity to do this. Sean, again, thank you so much. And everyone will be talking to you real soon. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.